Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. I'm really excited to be back to share my latest project. This is a journal that I've made using Tim Holtz's newest fabric called Abandoned. I was so lucky to get to work with this fabric, and oh my gosh, when I first saw it, I fell in love with it. It's the most beautiful mixed media electric fabric ever. And so what I did for the cover was, for the focal point here, I've made a frame of sorts from the fabrics layered together. And as you can see, you can put any of them together and they blend beautifully. And then I've used a lot of IDEA-OLOGY. I've got a vintage flare button right in the middle. I've got a tiny little pin here with a mirrored bead. Usually I wouldn't use something like that, but it's perfect for this project. And then I've got a safety pin down here, where I've got an assemblage piece here. I've got a vintage button on the original chain, a type token, found objects, a vintage button, and there's a metal key under there somewhere, and then an antique gem at the end down here, and a couple little crazy beads right there. I've got a ruler piece on the side with a pin nib on top. I've wound some thread around that. And then on the back, I've glued down this fabric heart with collage medium. And just for some interest, I flipped back the fabric here and then added a little piece right there. I like how that looks. This closure piece is, you know, at the thrift store when you buy a retired fabric book, they usually have a handle to carry them. That's what this is. And I'd never used it. I never had a use for it, but it paid off to save it because there you go. Worked perfectly on this. And then the way I made my cover was to take a piece of cotton batting, and then I cut two pieces of fabric, one for the outside, one for the inside. And then the inside piece of fabric, I cut bigger or taller. End to end, they were the same, but top to bottom, the inside was taller. And that was so when I went to sew the cover together, I could flip this over and sew it. And I cut it irregularly on purpose so that, same with the pockets down here, when I flipped them up, it would kind of have some interest instead of being just perfect. And I like how that came out, although you could do it however you want. And then the thread here. You know, when you wash, I like to wash my fabrics before I use them. And you know how you usually get balled up thread? Well, that's what this is. As I just stitched along, I added the balled up thread in to my stitching, and I really like how that came out. And then on the inside, I've got a couple pockets on the inside cover here. And on this pocket, I've got a salvaged edge where I just did some kind of crazy stitching on it, and I really like how that came out. And the tags, I've made all of my tags the same way in that I cut a tag shape from cotton batting, then I did the same with the fabric, and then before I backed it with the paper, I sewed everything down. These are just little pieces of fabric. That's a stamped image there on some paper. And I've got the word soul stamped onto that little tag. And I just sewed that all together. Then I added the abandoned paper on the back. And that eliminated any threads that would be showing. And I've got a little IDEA-OLOGY number there. This is from the tie that was around the fabric bundles when I got them. That's what that is. And then this tag, same thing, made it exactly the same way, backed with the abandoned paper. On this one I did a little stamping, added some words, see the beauty of this life, and collaged the fabric together. And I've got a little tag here on a bulb pin. I've got some chain hanging from that. And then the bouquet flowers I've inked with distress ink. This is a memo pin that I stuck into the fabric there. And I stamped this word imagine, made a little banner, and stuck that into the memo pin. And I've got a little piece of mica over the top of that image. She is from the Curiosity sticker book that was released at Halloween. And those little goggles that she has on come in the sticker book. So I added them onto her in this particular tag. Same here. This tag was made when I first got the fabric. I made 3 tags, and this was one of the 3. And same thing, the image in the middle is from the Curiosity sticker book. And I've got a little metal star there. Collaged all my fabrics together. Got a quote chip at the top, heart and soul. And then from this ball chain, I've got some IDEA-OLOGY pieces, little vintage button. On the back, I used the rub-ons to add a number there. And this one is backed with the abandoned paper as well. I'll talk about, you can see I've used fabric as hinges to bind my pages together. I just made this tag into one of the pages and sewed the fabric onto the back. And when I get to the center of the book, I'll show you how I put this book together. And then this tag right here was a inventory tag that I just splashed in inks. I stamped. I used collage paper and a type chip that I cut in half. I've stamped this bird image. It's one of my favorite stamp sets. It's called Field Notes. And I've used fabric and some little words and just to create a little collage. I've got some of the salvaged edge right there that I used inks to color it. And all my tabs are made the same, where I took several little pieces of fabric and just collaged them together. The detail on this fabric is so amazing. And then on the back here of this tag is another tag, which I had done mono printing, I believe, on this and stamped. And then I have a Tim Holtz die that is called Heartbeat, and it cut the word love and this little heart. And so I carried that across over to this page where I've got the heartbeat. And this tag I had already made, and I just thought the little heart around her was perfect. And so over here I've got this little flip up piece of fabric where I've collaged fabric both sides and created this frame for the words, listen to your heart, it will show you the way. So I really like that, how that came out. And I've got a little trinket pin here. These are retired, but of course I have a bunch that I've hoarded. And this one says trinket. They all say something different, but this one says trinkets or something, and then a little mirrored bead on that as well. And then this page is a background that I had made on distress watercolor cardstock. And the way I made this was to take a Tim Holtz stencil that's called Bouquet, and I rubbed my ink pad or pressed it onto the stencil, spritzed with water, and then turned it over, and I got this mono print. And you can do that with spray ink as well. This is just how I did this particular one. And you never know what you're going to get, but I sure like how this one came out. I really love it. So I haven't done anything with that. Same over here. I've got this file divider, which I haven't, except for just splashing in ink and oxide and stamping with distress paint. You can see the white there, that's distress paint. That's all I've done so far. And then I sewed a piece of abandoned paper onto this file folder, and then inside I made this little tag. This is a vintage tag that I've had these forever, and because of the red hole reinforcers, I never have used them, but of course for this project they're perfect. And so I did the inking again, some stamping, and I got a couple pieces of the fabric there stitched on, a little piece of a plain card, and then the paper dolls there, and then some stitching down at the bottom. Did some stamping, and that created this little tag. I really like it. And of course this is a full page pocket. And then this is the second of the tags that I had made when I first got the fabric. And the way I bound this book, I used this tag for a page, I made this envelope as a page, and then I took a strip of fabric to connect the two. And then once I had all my pages connected with fabric in the middle, I just machine stitched down the center, and you can see it actually worked out well because the grid on this fabric, I didn't even mean to. I just went right down the line there. But that's how and you could do any kind of binding. You could do a pamphlet stitch, you know, whatever. But I just did it with my machine, and it really worked well. And I didn't cut these little strips of fabric perfectly. You know, some are wider, some are taller. And of course, to fit this tag, this one's shorter. And I got a fabric on either side, of course, you know, so you don't have the back side of the fabric showing. This one's a little bit taller. And then this tag made exactly the same way. I've got a little word lucky there. And I really like how these tags came out. And then over here, I've got this fabric envelope that I had sewn. And I think I put cotton batting between the fabrics on this. It doesn't feel like it, but I think I did. But it doesn't really matter. You can do it however you want. And then I created this little pocket. This, on the front, I had cut a circle for underneath the vintage flare button. And this is the leftover fabric from that. And then I just used my quote chips that I've done with glaze and a crayon to kind of give that distressed look. And in this pocket, I have this little tag I made. This is the only one I made differently, where I took my fabric, my batting, and then I stitched it onto this little square piece of paper. And underneath here, you can write a little word. I have a little flip up there that you could put something under there. And then I just put these two little pieces of fabric together and created this tag shape, and then just stitched it on. So that's that little tag. And then the envelope for the flap here, or the tabs to hold, I've done quite a bit of collaging with the fabric. And then inside, oh, and you can see the fabric I lined this pocket with is the same as the abandoned paper over here. And then in this pocket or envelope, I've got the third tag that I made at the beginning. And I've got it backed with the abandoned paper. I've got a little ball chain with a piece of fabric at the top, a little safety pin with some beads, a little metal tab right there with a antique gem. So that's that tag. Then on the back of this, I've sewn on a piece of doily here. And as you can see, the vintage goes really well with this fabric. You can do anything with this fabric, and it looks awesome. And then I've made a couple tags just today. I was lucky enough to get Ranger Ink Distress White Heavy Stock. Tim Holtz and Ranger Ink sent this to me, and it's just beautiful. And so for this tag, I did some stamping over the top of ink. I'd used distress paint. That's the white that you see. And then I had cut some circles from fabric, and so I just used those as a tab. This is from the new specimen stamp set that just came out for Halloween. I really like it. It's a simple tag, but you get really good results. And then same with this one. I had first stamped with the distress paint, then I smooshed in the inks, and it really is a dark ink tag, but I love how this Lady Rose stamp shows through. I really love it. Then I've got a little piece of fabric here, Stay Curious, little tab on the top, and then I've got a little heart on the back, and that's my little tag. Oh, I love this paper, you guys. It's so awesome. And then over here, this is a background that I had made for using distress watercolor cardstock with my inks. And I haven't done anything to it yet. It's just like it is. And I will come back and add elements though, and make a page. I got my little tab here from all the different fabrics. And then this over here, I had fussy cut half of this image out. This is from the specimen stamp set as well. And I just added some numbers to him. I added some, just put pieces together. I just started putting pieces together and it made my little page there. Not a lot to it, but just by fussy cutting half of the moth, it came out really cool. I really like it. And then I've got a little bug over here. This is a Sears catalog page that I folded in half and then put my fabric between. And I've got my little metal tab at the top over the fabric tab. And here I've got a metal word band that says "Dream as if you'll live forever." And then this page, you can see my background. And then I took 2 pieces of fabric together and just cut a hole in the middle there to create this pocket that goes all the way around. And this little tag is another one I made. I love my little tags. And then this page, I've made another fabric envelope. And then inside, well here, this is the third of my little tags I made today where I just, smushed in ink and oxide, and then I did some stamping, and then I die cut this background here, and that made my little tag. I really love this paper. Oh, so awesome. And then inside the envelope, I have another tag. And this one, I just hand cut a leaf and then just stitched it down to the paper, added this leaf and a little safety pin and some chain hanging from that, and then backed it with another piece of cardstock. I think this is the watercolor card that I had been playing with, and I just cut it into a tag shape. That made that little tag. And then this envelope flips open. And back here I've got some vintage papers that I've collaged together, and this little tag with the paper dolls. This is another time where I've done this where I'm putting my papers together and I realize I've created a little pocket. So I just stuck them in there. And I've gotten some IDEA-OLOGY here, field notes, same over here. This background right here, I made, after I had done my inking, I took, I think it was grit paste, and then I sprinkled on embossing glaze over the top, and then let that dry, and then heat embossed. I learned that from one of Tim's demos on his Facebook Lives. Really gave a neat look. And then for this tab, I've used a vintage button where I punched a hole in this fabric so that I could feed the button through. And you know the old buttons, how they were on the card with this piece of metal holding them on? Well, that's how I just held it onto this tab. Same idea. And then I've done the same here with this pocket with the selvaged edge and stitching. And then in that pocket, I've got this little book I made from a flashcard. You can hardly tell it's a flashcard anymore. I did some stamping and heat embossing with black embossing powder. And I've got a fabric over the spine, a little die cut there. And then inside, I filled it with the abandoned papers. This is one of the papers where I'd cut the tag shape. And I've got a little piece of fabric sewn onto that. A little collage here. This is Harvey. And then I'll come back later and add more to these little scraps of paper. So that's my little book. So that's the journal, you guys. Hope you like it. I know I love it. So I'll show you the fabric now. This is the abandoned fabric. And as you can see, it's stunning. The black, that's so pretty. This is the cover. This is the only one that I haven't used. Just because it didn't find a place, but I love it. It's beautiful. I just didn't find a use for it, but I'll use it. And then these fabrics I used in the book as well, except for the navy. I didn't end up using that. But these are actually from the Provisions bundle. And I'll show you the rest of the Provisions. They're just a solid fabric that's made to have this distressed look to it. This plum color is gorgeous. This turquoise. So I'll show you the Provisions, this beautiful green. Look at that color. Oh my gosh. Really love the grungy look. And these will mix with any of Tim's fabrics. They're a great, add-in like I did with my journal, where you can add them in, have some solid mixed in. And then the next project I'm going to be doing will be using Yuletide. This is Tim's Christmas fabric, and I'll be sharing more projects, or the next time I'm back, I'll be sharing what I've made with the Christmas fabric. If you want to see more behind the scenes, you can follow me on Instagram, because I don't post on YouTube very often, but I post more often on Instagram. So look at this fabric with the music notes and the little trees, the holly. This is the paper that I used for my IDEA-OLOGY Christmas book, little Christmas journal. It's just beautiful. In the fabric. The fabrics are special, you guys. There's something about them. They're really beautiful. You can see the metallic stars. They're kind of metallic. Little houses. So cute. With the snow. Love the black. Same one in red. Snowflake. So pretty. Candy stripe, and the plaid. So pretty. And then the last bundle I have to share is called Foundations. And what this is it's mostly memoranda and wallflower. And you can go on to freespiritfabrics.com website to view all of Tim's fabrics, and I will put the link below, and I'll also put links to where you can buy these fabrics. But this is the Foundations. Just gorgeous. I can't wait to work with this one too. This is the wallflower. They're just gorgeous. So pretty. So you can get these fabrics. Etsy is a great source. Be sure to check your local quilt shops as well and support them. Fabric.com is a good source for these as well. The only one that you can't get right now is the Abandoned, and that will be shipping in December. But all these others, the Christmas, all of them, you can get right now. Try not to take too long. This one's so pretty. And the last one. So that's the fabrics my book. If you have any questions, just leave me a comment below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. But thanks for watching, guys. Take good care. Bye-bye.